You have the power of faith. Whatever the ultimate spiritual reality that you have, or whatever way you define God, I will never, 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 never tell or ask you to give up your faith or belief in God. Anytime a white police officer can kill a little kid, choke a man to death in New York, or a Trayvon Martin can be killed and the killer gets off, or a Michael Brown could be left in the middle of a street, and people protest, and a city like Ferguson, Missouri, bring out military armaments against people who want freedom, justice, and equality. Anytime you look at the criminal justice system and you have more black men in jail in 2015 than we had slaves in 1865, something is wrong in America. We look at the discouraging income of white people that's 14 times greater than that of black people. Anytime you look in Buddhism and you got a few punk priests running around in America with a bald head and a priest robe, and they're solid in regards to freedom, justice, and equality, you had better take a look at your God. Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that you can and you can know about a God is that a God is just. Please be assured, where there is no justice, there is no God, or gods would dwell there. The way that you can tell those who are of God, you will see justice and equality. Now, this is the rule that we teach. Men who are of justice are men who are of God. In 2014, you had people of all races protesting against police officers unjustly killing unarmed black people. These are people who are of justice, and people who are of justice and equality are people who are of God. Let me, as a black man in America who has 44 years of practice and study in the Buddhist, deal with the issue of God in Buddhism. Let me be clear regarding the issue of God or God in Buddhism. The only way that you will find justice in this world is to align yourself with God or align yourself with gods. In the conversation between a sage and an enlightened man, this is a Go show of Buddha Nichiren Shonin. He says, therefore, in the 6th volume of the Nirvana Sutra, his final teachings delivered in the grove of sour trees, our merciful Father Shakyamuni Buddha, the Lord of teachings, said, quote, rely on the law and not upon persons. Even when great bodhisattvas such as Universal Warji and Manjushra men, who have returned to the stage of near perfect enlightenment, expound the Buddhist teachings, if they do not do so with sutra texts in hand, then one should not heed to them. That means if there's a Daisaki Keita or some priest or the high priest in Japan, whoever they may be, anybody who preaches the Buddhist teachings, if they do not have sutra texts in hand, then we should not heed to them. This is the words of the Buddha Shakyamuni in his final speech. Now, the Go Show on Attaining Buddhahood and This Life reads, and let's listen very carefully. It says, nevertheless, even though you chant and believe in Myoho Renge Kyo, if you think the law is outside of yourself, you are embracing not the mystic law, but an inferior teaching. Inferior teaching means those other than the Lotus Sutra, which are all expedient and provisional. No expedient or provisional teaching leads directly to enlightenment, and without the direct path to enlightenment, you cannot attain Buddhahood, even if you practice lifetime after lifetime for countless kalpas. Attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime is then impossible. Now Nichiren says inferior teachings means those other than the Lotus Sutra, which are all expedient and provisional. Now let me cite an example. Nichiren Shonin writes in the Go Show, the true aspect of all phenomena. There should be no discrimination among those who propagate the 5 characters of Myoho Renge Kyo and the latter day of the law, be they men or women. When Japanese organizations like the SGI, Nichiren Shoshu, Nichiren Shu, and other faiths discriminate, like remove Black history from Buddhism or teach or promote the racist Sanskrit language, that is an insult to black people. And such actions are not of the Lotus Sutra. Such teachings are inferior teachings, or they are not of the Lotus Sutra. The Go Show, the Gift of Rights read, quote, the true path lies in affairs of this world. The Golden Light Sutra states, to have a profound knowledge of this world is itself Buddhism. The Nirvana Sutra states, quote, all of the non-Buddhist scriptures and writings in society are themselves Buddhist teachings, not non-Buddhist teachings. The Go Show on prayer reads, now that the formal and the middle days of the law are over, persons who observe the precepts are as rare as tigers in a marketplace, and persons of wisdom are harder to find than the horns of a chowling. While waiting on the moon to rise, one must rely upon a lantern. And when there are no true gems at hand, gold and silver must serve as jewels. The debt of gratitude one owes to a white crow may be repaid to a black crow, and the debt one owes to a sage priest may be repaid to an ordinary priest. So if you earnestly pray that blessings be given to you without delay, how can your prayers fail to be answered, unquote. Now, let me get into the issue of God, and do Buddhists believe in God? I, Anthony F. Elmore, cannot speak for Buddhists. I can, as a Buddhist and who has practiced the Buddhist teachings for 44 years, can speak for Anthony F. Elmore. If you want to know what Anthony F. Elmore believes, Anthony F. Elmore believes in a God. Anthony F. Elmore and those who associate with the proud Black Buddhist World Association, we believe in a God. Now, let me get down and let me explain this, because we're going to come upon a lot of criticism from the Buddhists, but let us go into doctrine and explain exactly what we mean. Let me teach you the Buddhist doctrine in regards to God. And those who say they know Buddhism or talk Buddhism, let me get another thing straight. Myself as an African American or black person, there is not a Japanese in all Japan that can talk to black people better than Anthony Elmore can talk to black people, and there's nobody and no Buddhist in the world has done more lectures or has done more to communicate with black people in regards to Buddhism than Anthony Elmore. This is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. Look at, if you go to Anthony Elmore video channel, you'll find that I have more videos out there than probably any other Buddhist, probably, black or white. So we can speak, and we can speak with authority, and we can speak and show you our dedication. But in the Buddhist doctrine, in regards to God, in the time of the messenger of the Buddha, Nichiren Shonin, he was asked exactly where does hell and Buddha live. In the New Year's Go show is how Nichiren Shonin answered the question about Buddha in hell. He says, quote, first of all, as to the question of where exactly hell and the Buddha exists, one sutra states that hell exists underground, and another sutra says that Buddha is in the west. Closer examination, however, reveals that both exist in our 5-foot body. This must be true because hell is in the heart of a person who inwardly despises his father and disregards his mother. It is like the lotus seed, which contains both blossom and fruit. In the same way, the Buddha dwells in our hearts. For example, flint has the potential to produce fire, and gems have intrinsic value. We ordinary people can neither see our own eyelashes, which are so close, nor the heavens in the distance. Likewise, we do not see that the Buddha exists in our own hearts. You may question, how is it that the Buddha can reside within us when our bodies originated from our parents' sperm and blood, are the source of the 3 poisons and the seed of carnal desires? But repeated consideration assures us of the truth of this matter. Unquote. In regards to the concept of God, the close that we come to God is a Buddha. The Buddha. For the sake of proud black Buddhists, we refer to the question, where exactly does hell and the Buddha exist? Nichiren writes that both hell and the Buddha exists in our 5-foot body. In our case, hell and Buddha exist in our 6-foot plus body. We, at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association, believe in a God. But we also believe in Buddhist doctrine. Buddhist doctrine teaches us that God, or Buddha, exists only within our lives. The Lotus Sutra, or the Buddhist highest teachings, has no issue with the concept of God or heaven. It is only the Lotus Sutra that teaches us that the realm of heaven and hell exists within our body. Now, it teaches us that we have 10 worlds, from hell to Buddhahood, and each world exists. Within each world that makes 100 worlds, and 100 worlds times 10 aspects with 1,000 worlds times 3 realms. That gives us 3,000 worlds in a momentary state of existence. And both God and the devil exist right inside your life. Let's take this thing further. In the Go Show, The Gift of Rice, it reads, quote, the Nirvana Sutra teaches us all the non-Buddhist scriptures and writings in society are themselves Buddhist teachings, not non-Buddhist teachings. Now, I want you to understand something, ladies and gentlemen. The Nirvana Sutra says all non-Buddhist teachings are Buddhist teachings, not non-Buddhist teachings. Now, let's go into study of the Lord's Prayer. And I want you to understand that the Lord's Prayer is not just a Christian. First of all, the Buddha or Jesus is actually the Buddha. We're not going to get into that now, but let's get into the Lord's Prayer. And the Gosho says that all non-Buddhist teachings, or the scriptures of non-Buddhist teachings, are Buddhist teachings, not non-Buddhist teachings. Let's start with one of the main teachings of the Christian religion. It says, and most of you know the Lord's Prayer, it says, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but to deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now, can't no Japanese get down like Anthony Elmore, and can't nobody get down and tell it to you like Anthony Elmore can tell it to you, but I'm going to tell it to you. The Lord's Prayer does not reference God. The Lord's Prayer is a Buddhist mantra. It says, listen very carefully, it says, Our Father. Now, when you study the Lotus Sutra, the Buddha says, I am the Father of the world. It says, who art thou in heaven? The Lotus Sutra teaches us that heaven is inside ourselves, as it is on this earth. The Lotus Sutra does not say heaven is somewhere in the sky. The Lotus Sutra tells us that heaven is inside ourselves because it talks about the 10 worlds. You got hell, hunger, animality, anger. You got humanity. You got the world of heaven, which is the 6th world. Then you got learning, self-realization. You got the world of Bodhisattva and the world of Buddhahood. These are worlds that exist within inside of you. It is the Lotus Sutra that teaches you that God exists inside of you. Yes, there's a God. Yes, there's a God. Because the God exists within your life. And when you look and when you read the Lotus Sutra talks about an eternal Buddha who have lived 1 billion trillion zillion years, who says his life is eternal. This is what the Lotus Sutra teaches. So when you do the Lord's Prayer, and it says, Our Father who art thou in heaven, heaven exists inside of you. Hallowed thy name. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is the name of the Lotus Sutra. Hallowed thy name. That is the name of the Lotus Sutra. Thy kingdom come. The kingdom of the Buddha is within inside of yourself. Thy will. What is the will of the Buddha? The will of the Buddha. Chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. The will of the Buddha is within you. He says, on earth as it is in heaven. It's right there. He said, give us this day. This day is now. The Lotus Sutra teaches that there are 10 worlds and a momentary state of existence. And when it gives us this day, we're talking about now, and the Lord's Prayer is talking about Buddhism. He said, daily bread, and forgive our trespasses. What is our trespasses? The things that we do wrong. It is the attitude. It is the practice. It says, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Buddhism is a religion of forgiveness. And we practice to forgive because this is the teachings of the Lotus Sutra. And it said, lead us not into temptation. Lead one not into temptation means lead us into wisdom, because through chanting there is wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. The Lord's Prayer ain't got nothing to do with no God. It does not mention God. It said, lead us not into temptation and deliver us from evil. That is to practice the right way, to practice the Dharma, which is the right thinking, the right practice, the right speech. It is the right livelihood. It is the right concentration. It is doing the right things. That is the Dharma, the Eightfold Path. And when you read the Lord's Prayer, this is a Buddhist document, not a non-Buddhist document. But let's go on further. Now, let me explain to you why I, Anthony F. Elmore, President of the Black Buddhist Association, promote the idea in a belief in a God. The basis for Buddhism, or the only way to achieve Buddhahood, is through faith. You cannot attain Buddhahood through wealth. No matter how many billions of dollars that South Creator got, or how rich somebody is, the only way that you can attain Buddhahood is through faith. Now, the basis of Buddhism is faith. Again, in the New Year's Go Show, we ordinary, it says, quote, we ordinary people can see neither our own eyelashes, which are so close, nor the heavens in the distance. Some of us go through pure hell. I can only imagine what it is like to be addicted on a drug like crack, to where you will sell your soul to get a fix. The only way that we can overcome such things, we got to have a God. We got to have a spiritual basis, and there's nothing wrong with that, because the Buddha says, I am the Father of the world. I am here to help you. I am here to lead you to the correct path. The Buddha is the God himself, because the Buddha directs you to the right path. Let me bring this Buddhist lecture to a close. The Lotus Sutra teaches us that God only exists within our lives. Buddhism teaches us the four mystic powers. The first power is the power of the Buddha. When you have faith in God, you are just saying, I have faith in the Buddha. That is a mystic power, because the Buddha or a God does have power. Anytime a little punk priest or the Koch brothers who have $100 billion, who want to control the world, control the politics with their money, it is a God, it is a Buddha who can stand toe-to-toe against them and put them in their place. It is a God that can bring America to their place. It was Dr. Martin Luther King who said, with this faith, I shall carve a tunnel of hope through a mountain of despair. With this faith, I shall challenge America, because he understood that what America was doing was wrong, and the way of the Buddhists is to fight for justice. Nelson Mandela showed who he was as a person. He showed that the God nature was inside himself, and he brought out his power of God. The power of God, ladies and gentlemen, is expressed through your actions, because you show a God-like behavior. I want you to look here and see Malcolm X. The Lotus Sutra teaches us that we become great, that the Buddha or the lotus flower blooms in the swamp. Malcolm X, who was a pimp, who was a hustler, who was a thief, took a religion and reformed his life to become one of the greatest and most important historical figures in America. Malcolm X did this because he showed that the Buddha nature exists within inside yourself. The God, or he pulled out his God-like nature inside himself. And the last person we see here is Dr. Brihimyo Ambedkar, who was born a Hindu but said he would not die a Hindu. Dr. Brihimyo Ambedkar brought out the highest in himself because he said he would not die Hindu, and he converted over 500,000 people back to the world of Buddhism. He ended up writing India's constitution. God exists, ladies and gentlemen, within your own community, within yourself. It is not some priest who comes with the starched suit and America's Best Gold card who comes in here and want to dominate you. But the true Buddha, or the true Buddhism, is when you look at yourself and you look at your own community and you build the greatness within yourself, because the lotus flower blooms in the swamp. And when we, as a people, can dig down into the dirt of the swamp and use this wonderful Lotus Sutra to make ourselves great, our country great, and a better world, that is Buddhism, and that is the work of God, and that's how it works. Thank you very much. I get down on my knees and I pray every day. I pray the Lotus Sutra way. I pray every day to do my best to practice peace and love and respect. I get down on my knees and I pray every day. I pray the Lotus Sutra way, devotion to the mystic law and cause and effect teaching, I believe, and wisdom preaching. I get down on my knees and I pray every day.